Good afternoon, buenas tardes, and thank you for tuning in. On behalf of all of us at the locally based, independently owned bookstore Books and Books in Miami, Florida, and in partnership with Miami Book Fair, it's my pleasure to welcome you to a virtual afternoon with Katie Beecher to discuss Heal from Within, a guidebook to intuitive wellness, published by our friends at St. Martin's. Katie Beecher is a licensed professional counselor and medical emotional intuitive with over 30 years of experience. She is featured in Goop, Kourtney Kardashian's website Poosh, and Miranda Kerr's Cora Organics blog. She has a unique way of working with clients, creating a detailed, individualized physical, emotional, and spiritual report and symbolic painting before ever seeing them, talking with them, or seeing a photograph, using only their name and age. Wow. Heal from Within, An Intuitive Guide to Wellness is Katie's first book that we're celebrating today. To moderate this afternoon's conversation, we're joined by Sherianna Boyle, the author of more than several books, including Emotional Detox Now, 135 Self-Care Practices to Renew Your Mind, Heart, and Spirit. She is an adjunct psychology professor, host of the Emotional Detox Now podcast, founder of the Cleanse Method, Emotional Detox Coaching, and Cleanse Yoga. Just a quick reminder that throughout this afternoon's broadcast, you can post questions below in the Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen. And please order your copy of Heal from Within from Books and Books below and support independent bookstores. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest to the virtual stage. Hello.
Hello, nice to be here with you and Sherry. So how should we start this, my dear?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Get your book out because I can barely see it there, Katie.
Even though it's reversed, but that's okay.
Yes. So this is the big day. I got my little streamers going here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, I just want to say everyone that's listening is I get many books because I was on the radio for a long time, and I got Katie's book and I got connected to Katie, and your book is truly one of my favorite books. And I'm not just saying that because I'm your guest today, but I really, you're really something. You really are. You have a lot of knowledge and talent, and it's not just that, everyone, is you have a different perspective on anxiety and trauma and what people are putting themselves through, going through these days. I really think that I wish I had your book a long time ago because as a mom with daughters, I think I would have understood things, So I know this is something you've been working on for a long time, you and I. And the other thing I want people to know is, you have a license. You're so, you're not just a lot of people will write about their healing experiences and share their journeys and help others, but you actually have the degrees to back that up. So, which really makes it special. So, I can't believe it's your first book. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So my healing journey started when I was 16. I had a very severe eating disorder and depression, and I was suicidal because I knew I could not continue to live that way. And I had very little parental support. So it really was divine intervention that made me not take my life. And I called our pediatrician and told him what I was doing. It was 1983, so there wasn't a lot of knowledge about eating disorders and what to do about them. But he gave me the name of a local Jungian psychologist, Carl Jung. For those people who aren't familiar with him, he's pretty amazing. And she basically got me started on the journey. I had a car and a job, so I went by myself. I paid for it by myself. My parents didn't find out till probably a year later. And she taught me all about connecting to intuition and accepting my gifts, my psychic gifts that I had been really quite afraid of. I knew I could always talk to people who had passed, and I was an empath and I could pick up things, but a lot of the time I got scary information or connected with scary energy, and that made me turn away from my gifts, or I was just super sensitive. I didn't know what to do with it all. I was pretty lost, and it's kind of no surprise that it turned into something like an eating disorder where you bury your feelings and your authenticity. But through really hard work, I started to learn about who I was and do a lot of self-acceptance work and self-love and self-healing. Didn't happen overnight for sure. But my guides told me during that journey in the beginning that I would be writing this book, that I'd be writing a book to help other people, and then I'd be sharing what I went through, that there was a purpose for it. And I really feel like that whole experience was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It taught me about talking to my body, listening to my body, getting signals, and why illness happens, why addiction happens, why all those things happen. And they're really to help you to find your authenticity and connect to spirit. So in my readings, I deal with physical, emotional, and spiritual stuff. It's a person's whole entire life. Everything that has ever happened to us impacts us. But for me, a lot of it really, and it's about getting to the root causes, physical, emotional, and spiritual, but a lot of it really seems to get down to helping people to connect to intuition and spirit and finding self-love. And then having that foundation really helps you to make decisions about healing and connect to your body and work with it as a team, instead of feeling like I have to fight this, or I can only depend on a doctor, or I have to listen to other people. We know ourselves better than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to chime in. So everyone who's listening, this is a big release day with her book. It's called, he put it out there. It's in the corner. Okay. There, heal from within. This is an important day, an important launch day for Katie Beecher. And as you can, if you're just coming on, people pour their heart and souls into books, right? And their journeys and their experience. And again, on top of that, but you have a couple people chiming in that just want to just send you some love and tell you how much they adore you, how amazing you are. Aww. So hope that you receive that. And someone says there are copies currently out for delivery. Looking forward to it. Right? Yeah. So I had the privilege of endorsing your book, like I said. So I got to read it, and really kind of like in terms of the, when you were talking about eating disorders and you're talking about addiction, this is such an important book for our time, because now we have, suicide rates through the roof. Addiction is, I don't know about the people listening in, but it's not uncommon to hear about a suicide now, right?
No, it's not.
It would be kind of a big deal, and it would, you hear once in a while, and now it seems more common. So, in terms of, I know you have these gifts, and in terms of you tell them their story. What have you learned in all the client work? And I know you talked about self-love, but I don't want to give the book away, because we want you to get the book, right? but why your book, Katie? What do you think is?
Well, I work very differently when I do my readings, and with just a name and age, I create a really extensive 4-page report with probably 75 to 100 bits of information about each person I deal with. And it's really personal information. People are like, I never told anyone that. It's on your report. So that's kind of cool. But it really helps people to look at every single thing that's happened in their life, both now and in the past, and to see how they interact, to see how the body works with the brain and works with spirituality, so that you can really heal from the ground up and heal permanently. You're not just band-aiding all over the place. And part of the reading also are these intuitive soul paintings, and every single one is different. This is just one example. They're all just incredibly different. They're either a person or an animal, or there's another one, person or an animal or a plant or whatever. And people get symbolic information about their lives as well. So it's a really cool process. But yeah, it's just, people tell me that a reading is like a year of therapy in an hour. And I really wanted a way to transfer what I do individually to a larger group of people. My husband calls it Katie Beecher, the home game. And yeah, he's pretty great. But I really wanted to teach a lot of what I do individually to other people, so that they can use these techniques themselves and learn about themselves and figure out where they want to go, what they need to work on first, how to approach it. In a lot of detail, there's tons of different tools and things, but it really takes you through like you're doing a reading on yourself. And
that is super cool.
Well, I'm huge about empowerment.
Yeah, well, I can imagine both. So having a reading with you, and is that what you call it, a reading?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then being able to have a book to take with you to carry on what you learned in the reading.
Yeah, exactly.
So many of us leave a reading and we're like, that was really interesting. I learned a lot, but it would be nice to kind of be held for a little while.
For sure.
And it sounds like your book does that. So how do you keep tapping into this wisdom?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that's a little unique about me too is when I have a reading with people can email me after with questions, and I, kind of keep working with them and everything. But yeah, it's a way for you to kind of go through your step-by-step process of healing and learning about yourself. And the book is a step-by-step thing, but you don't have to do it that way. You can pick an area where you want to start working on first, like a certain chakra, a certain part of the body, or characteristics or symptoms, and it's not just kind of fixing things. It's also people come to me who just want to learn more about their intuitive gifts or their life path or improving their relationships, so it's kind of across the board. But you can take the book and say, okay, this is, it starts with connecting you to your intuition. And then this is what I want to focus on. And then I'm going to kind of go from there and look around. And then the second part is a list of all kinds of conditions with information from my guides about healing. Like the whole thing was really written by my guides.
Wow, interesting.
My guides and 30 years of experience, dear God, and my own healing. But yeah, I really feel like my guides wrote this. And sometimes when people ask me about it, I'm like, I don't remember what I wrote. Because they wrote this.
Totally get that.
Right?
And what I love, and you and I talked about this a while back, is that anyone out there who's listening, who's been told you're going to have this for the rest of your life, right? How many conditions are you told that you're going to have that for the rest of your life? You're always going to be, struggling, you're always going to be an addict at heart, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
And you and I have had discussions about this, and that's what made me fall in love with your book and fall in love with you, because you don't just talk about it, you've done it.
Right. Exactly. No, I've been recovered for 30 years. And, are there days when I'm not real keen about certain parts of my body and stuff? Yeah, I'm a human being, where I'm like, where you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, that one thing I don't like about myself. And I have to remember, there's whole parts of you. There's not just little things you don't like, but yeah, I've done a lot of work, and I'm very proud of that. But I also know people can do that work. I'm not special. And it's really important to me to teach people to listen to themselves, to connect with their intuition and come into their power. And I'm just a helper.
Well, you definitely are, because someone else here is saying that they did a printed her soul painting that you did with her last June. She cannot wait to get the book. She says, Stephanie says, you are transparent and you are very generous in the way that you share information. So that's wonderful for people to hear. So if, because not everybody is, right? And sometimes you go and you get support and people are like, okay, hour's up.
Yeah, no, it's so true. People,
right?
Yeah, no, people will apologize for taking up more time. And I'm like, this is my reading. If I want to spend more time with you, I can. So
yeah. And I think that is where it's different than going to therapy. There's more guidelines, there's more boundaries, which need to be in place for therapy. They can't just be there all day. They have other clients. But when you get something like this with you, it's really special, right? So it's something for you. And again, and I find when I work with someone, or and in my experience, when someone works with me, the reading gets enhanced, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So you get to know, and I don't know if this was probably going to happen to you, Katie, since it's your first book, but people say, I can hear your voice in the book.
Awesome. I love it. And people have said, you write the way you talk. And I'm like, is that good?
That's a very good thing. And I know you write the way you talk because, again, I've seen the book. So, and it really is everything. And you pour your heart and soul. Does anybody have any specific questions for Katie? How long did it take you, Katie, to write this book?
I'm 56, so I started when I was 16. There were a lot of little stops and starts. A lot of, writing proposals and then being like, okay, this is not really good enough. How am I going to do this? For anybody who's ever wanted to do anything terrifying, just keep going, just go for it. And,
keep on going.
Right. So it was probably, by the time I did the proposal, and the proposal is part of it, obviously, it was probably a good 4 years or so. Part of that was working with the publisher. Thank you, St. Martin's Press. Since, I'm an author, but I don't really consider myself to be a writer. So yeah, it was probably about 4 years-ish to get the whole thing together. There were a lot of changes. There's so much information in the book. And I have such a huge knowledge base, and it was very hard to narrow down what I wanted to put in it. And
probably like 3 books. It could have been 3.
That's what I kept hearing, is there's so much in here. So great fodder for writing additional books, which I plan to do. But there's so many topics in it that in my brain, which continually gets stuff coming in, it was kind of hard to sort it out. But yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy about it.
Well, breaking it down, which is what you did in your book with I Notice, is you make it easy to digest, because not everybody has the 30 years experience that you have and all the knowledge base. And that I always found that a challenge, but I think you really did such a good job that I could give it easily, excuse me, to my 21-year-old. And I know that, and that's what I look for. And that's, to me, a sign of a good writer, when you can write in a way where you can share the information and anybody, any age, can pick it up and not feel like they can get something from that. So no, I mean that.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Absolutely. So exciting. Does anybody have any more questions for Katie Beecher in terms of, think about yourself, think about a loved one or a friend? Anybody have anything specific? Oh, we've got one. I'm trying to get them thinking here.
I love it.
Can you tell us more about your guides?
That's a great question. Great question. Yes. So when I first learned to talk to my intuition, which my very favorite special way of connecting with intuition is in my book, and it's something I teach to everyone. It's something that literally saved my life, and I still do to this day. So it's a big deal. When I first started writing to my intuition, I didn't really know what that was. So I started writing to God, because I feel that intuition is this all-knowing force that's always with us and loves and accepts us unconditionally. So what I realized many years later is that I had actually been talking to my guides. And guides can come in a lot of forms. I don't know the names of mine. I've seen them. I've never actually seen a close-up of their faces, but I know that one is sort of an ancient male tribal chief person. I know that, you know, my grandma and my mom in spirit. There's an older woman who feels like she may be Mayan or that kind of thing, and a younger woman. But when I think about my guides, I see myself sitting at this sort of circular table, and there's a group of people around the table, and then there's just goes on endlessly. And I really believe we all have an army of guides. We all have angels, and we all have people that we can just call down. I'm not special. You know, it's there, it's accessible. You know, when people talk about channeling Virgin Mary or famous people or whatever, you can all do that. Everyone can do that, even being a medium. Your loved ones don't really want to talk to me. They want to talk to you. So, you know, I can be a conduit, but I teach people how to do that for themselves.
And what have you seen in terms of the, we've got another question, in terms of the advantages? I know that it helped you by just opening up to that. And it sounds like that woman back, that therapist really guided you to open up your intuition, help you overcome an eating disorder, right? Which is a severe, I mean, we have to remember, eating disorders are life-threatening disorders. It's severe. And so I'm sure you see many advantages. One person wants to know if you have any animal guides.
I love animals. I've always loved them from the time I was young. They brought me a lot of comfort because I was painfully shy and just so sensitive. And people who know me now are like, huh? But I really was. And so we always had animals around. I raised rabbits for showing them. And so I know that there's dogs in spirit, you know, my our old dog Ava. And I just always feel connected to the animal world. And it's pretty fascinating because I do animal readings too. Wow. And they're so amazing because our animals are so much like us, and they take on our characteristics, but they also protect us. Like, they're really here to serve us. And I learned so much about the person that I'm reading when I'm doing the animal reading. So it's kind of like a dual 2-for-1 thing. It's very fun. But even when I do like the paintings, the symbolic paintings, pets come through all the time. You know, animals people have come through all the time. So I think they just go to a different place, but they still look out for us.
That's beautiful. So in terms of healing, how do you feel your book is a little, I know it's different in terms of you, right? You're what makes this different than, say, another healing book in terms of what your guides and your knowledge base. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that people understand about this new book?
Yeah, it really is based on the way that I work, in that it's not just about physical healing. It's not just about emotional healing or spiritual. It really addresses all three, because while our emotional and physical, you know, issues and symptoms do have emotional and spiritual components, there's also a very real physical component to them, and those have to be addressed. So I really have tried very hard to address mind, body, and spirit. And I honestly believe that that's how people heal.
Awesome. And so we do have a person asking a question here. Is the book like having a long personal session with you? Is the healing physical and emotional, which you just talked about? So is it, are we going to feel like we're getting session work from you by reading the book, Katie?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It was pretty hard to translate, again, what I do personally into this book for lots of people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's a substitute for getting a reading with me. However, I love that description of it being kind of a long, ongoing medical intuitive reading, because I really think that's what it is. It starts with some of my backstory and then gets you right into connecting with your own intuition and recognizing your own gifts and issues, and then figuring out where in the body those are. What chakras do they apply to? What are the emotional, spiritual, and physical characteristics of that chakra? And then in-depth tools and information about how to heal. What can you do? There's tons of things that we can do. So it really is sort of like an ongoing reading. Thank you, whoever asked that question, because that was kind of cool.
That's cool. And I love the chakras. I think that is something so important to. And do you do what's in the book to yourself?
Yes. So yes, I practice what I preach, and the recommendations all come from things that I know and I've experienced, and I'm very picky about what and who I recommend. And it's information directly from my guides coming down and being like, this is what you need to tell people. But it's also, these things I have done. I have taught, I've experienced myself, and I've experienced them working with others. And so, this is real life experience stuff, as well as a little woo-woo thrown in.
Oh, we've got more questions here. Let's see. We have, again, we have one, ordered a book, so excited to read. We have a couple about spiritual perspective, reincarnation. That's part one.
Okay.
Then we have, do you mind if I throw another one at you?
Go right ahead.
Can you talk more about how intuition talks to our mind, body, spirit? I'm learning how to be more available to my intuition for my own mind, body, spirit self. Thank you. That's from Karen. So again, both of them are more spiritually mind, body. How does that happen, Katie?
Yeah. Right. So we are, unfortunately, a lot of us are fear-based, and God knows I have my anxiety. I'm not going to, far from perfect here. But there's a lot of fear connected with connecting to your intuition. And my book lists tons of obstacles and how you can overcome them, because we're all real beings. A lot of it is about being afraid of being wrong, or fear of, is this really my intuition, or am I making this up? Or, okay, so I'm listening, then what do I do with it? Because the fear, like, a lot of us know what we need to do, but then if we listen and admit it, it's like, oh my God, now I have to do that. And that's not the case. You can listen and then do things in your own time. So intuition does a bunch of things. For one, it connects you to love, to this extreme force of love that is always with you. And if you are connected with love, you can let go of fear, because you feel safe and protected. And a lot of us walk around not feeling very safe. So you feel like you have to be on all the time and in control mode. And if you're in control mode, you block intuition.
That's
and
right.
If you're and if you're in control mode, you block your healing. You block the signals you need from your body to tell you, oh, you need to rest, or this supplement is not working, or this medicine is giving you a bad side effect, or whatever. You need to keep that communication open. And I teach people how to connect with their body as well as the other side in very similar ways that I connect to intuition. So it's all connected in that way. And also, like, intuition just helps us to know who we need to get rid of in our lives, who we need to have more relationship with. When you meet somebody, this a good person or not, it just, for me, it's the basis of every single thing. So hopefully that answered the question. And as far as reincarnation and things, none of us necessarily has proof of it, but I've had enough experiences with things like that, and with doing readings on people and hypnotizing them and getting them into talking to basically their past lives. That I really do believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we do our thing here, and then we're either done or we move on to learn more things and influence more people. And so yeah, that is something I believe in.
Yeah. And it's such a great time. I'm sure those listening can agree to explore this, because I think when things get overwhelming,
Right.
right, and the world seems, there's so much happening and we're getting bombarded.
I know.
Explore spirituality, right? Explore your guides. I mean, it might just be that it's time to shift and focus on something else, right, Katie?
Right.
Someone
And it can mean a lot of things too. Like, I've had very few people say, but like, does this go against Christianity, or does this go against, and it's absolutely the opposite. It could not be more based in love and in helping people and caring about people. And so, exploring your intuition does not connect you to anything negative or evil, or it's quite the opposite.
So someone wants everyone to know that they just checked Audible app. Heal from Within is currently available to download for those of you who don't want to wait for the book.
That's true.
And they want to know if you narrated the book yourself, and are there any downloadable exercises or other resources incled?
You know what? That's a really, really good question. I did narrate the book myself, having all these new experiences. I did.
Nice.
It was actually more fun than I thought. I had great people to work with, so they made it easier. Yes, in the hardcover of the book, on when you first get to it, there are examples of my intuitive soul paintings, which I teach people how to do in the book. You will learn how to do these intuitive soul paintings.
And you don't have to be an artist. I can do that. I think I can.
Right.
Yes. Just looking at it, feels, there's a lot there. You
learn how to do those for yourself and others. If you're a practitioner or whatever, you can just take everything in the book and do stuff with other people with it. So that's, again, kind of a cool thing. So in the hardcover, there are the color pictures. There are blank templates, exactly the same one I work with when I create the reports and do the readings.
And you're saying hardcover, is it
hardcover? But
okay.
When you get the Audible version, the downloadable version in audio, you do get an MP3 that comes with that, or maybe it's just downloaded directly. Not my technical thing, but you do get a download that shows the color pictures and gives you all the forms that you have to, you can print out and work from there, because it really is a very active type of workbook situation.
Oh, that would be so fun. So it would be great for any kind of book club or activity. Yeah. So it goes beyond, you could get together with some friends and
definitely
kind of explore that a little bit. That sounds like fun, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I've done workshops teaching people a lot of this stuff, but also teaching them how to do the intuitive paintings. And then I, help them interpret them, and people really enjoy it.
Awesome. When do you think, what is your Instagram account?
It's Katie Beecher /medical_intuitive. Do not follow the imposters. They're everywhere. Oh my God.
I actually texted Katie the other night, everyone, and I said, did you know there's someone else being you on Instagram, and they're asking for money for readings? So
that makes me so angry. Yes, I am. Mine is the one with the 19.1 thousand followers, not the other.
It's not hard to pick up, everyone. You'll if you get a message asking for $400,
exactly.
That's not Katie. It's not Katie. That's happening a lot in the spiritual world. I find people who do readings, but so anyway, that's your Instagram. You have great Instagram, by the way.
And my website is katiebeecher.com.
katiebeecher.com. Awesome. So you have your Instagram. What have been some of the most, there we go, heal from within, beautiful colors. I love the shading of it.
Right.
I can feel it. what have been some of the most difficult cases you have dealt with, Katie?
Yeah, I have a lot of people who come to me who have been to every doctor, healer, practitioner under the sun, who've tried everything. Some of them know what they have and can't get better. Others still don't have a proper diagnosis. And I do want to say also, I'm extremely responsible and ethical. I am not allowed to diagnose this. That's not what this is about. I do identify symptoms and give people suggestions. And then I have medical professionals that I work with. So that's an important thing for me to say. But yeah, it's people who have been in pain for so long, and it's very multi-layered. So on the surface is this incredibly challenging, painful thing, like Lyme disease, which I am recovered from Lyme. Yay, thank you, God, and every co-infection. But I deal with people who are bedridden, who have lost hope, who don't have people supporting them, and who they don't even really feel like they're going to get better. Like, obviously, if they're contacting me, there's some hope still there, but it's the multi-layered things. And a lot of it is, you just start with listening and start by dissecting things and trying to help them where they are today and helping them make some progress to start, even if it's just little things to make them feel more empowered and love themselves more and connect with their bodies, which when you're sick, you disconnect. You don't want to be in your body. You don't want to feel it. So it's very hard to feel grounded and be who you truly are. And we just start with little things that help and build from there. But yeah, I get a lot of people who are in really tough shape.
Katie, do you talk about in your book how to take care? I know you talk about the chakras, so I'm imagining that there's tools and techniques in there on how to take care of your energy, because we are sort of surrounded by people that aren't feeling well, right?
For sure.
I mean, whether it's mentally or physically. Even animals, being around some animals aren't feeling so great. So how do we take care of so we don't, because a lot of people are probably relating. Like, I feel my intuition, not sure what to do with it.
Right.
Am I picking up other people's stuff? Can you talk about that?
Huge.
Discuss that in the book.
It is huge. Yes, I address that in many different places in the book. Being an empath myself, being sensitive, so many of the clients I work with are some of the people I just interact with. And unfortunately, or fortunately, being an empath is a learned survival skill. So if you grow up in a home where things are unhappy, or there's addiction, or there's people screaming at each other, or mental illness, as a kid, you learn that, number one, you better be quiet because no one wants to hear from you. You can't tell the truth because no one wants to hear from you. And you have to anticipate what those people in your house are going to do and say before they do it, in order to protect yourself. Because so you have to be on guard all the time. And you kind of learn to push you down and almost become them, take on their feelings, take on their energy. So it could be a great skill in life. But if you take it too far, you lose yourself. And then you feel like you cannot filter out anybody else's stuff. So
some people didn't even know themselves to begin with.
Oh my God.
Then it becomes really tricky because sometimes we never really got to know who we are, right, Katie? But
so many people.
That becomes exciting journey, because then you get to discover that.
That was a lot of my healing process. Was, you're not a piece of crap. You're not an eating disorder. You're not whatever you are. You're a person. And even if you don't know who that is, it's never too late to find out. But I have learned, and I really believe, that we are in control of our energy. As a therapist and as a person who grew up in a less than functional home, I have had to learn to set clear boundaries and to feel my energy and to protect it, and to ask myself, when I am anxious, is this mine, or am I picking it up from the outside? and, you know, what can I do about that? How can I address my stuff? So the first step in protecting your energy and your feelings is allowing yourself to feel, which can be really scary and hard. But that's the only way you can sort it out. And once you do that, then you can really ask, like, what is this? Is this about me? Is this about other people? Am I leaving myself too open and vulnerable to other people's energies? How is it affecting my physical and emotional health? Huge, you know? So I do address that a lot.
So I can imagine your book would be great for anyone out there who's even in the field, whether it's in public service or healthcare, or you're a therapist or you're a coach. I think, you know, not every program that we get certified in or credentialed in gives you everything you need. Sometimes it's just enough to get you going.
Sure.
But then you realize I really need more.
Right.
And I would imagine this is some of what your book can offer people, is that, okay, if you lean into that, I know this is happening here. Here's a resource.
Yeah. And even just learning more about Jungian psychology. Like if I had not gone to a Jungian psychologist, I do not believe I would have healed. I needed that spiritual perspective. I needed someone to say, yeah, talking to dead people's not crazy. You know, trust yourself. And so I think it's great the more we learn from other people. I learn from my clients every day. You know, the more we learn, even as there's a lot of people who want to learn to be a medical intuitive or explore their mediumship abilities and all that. And that's part of this book as well, is just using techniques and seeing what works for you and what might not.
Yeah. So you really enjoy that.
I do.
I'm ignoring the questions. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just having a good time talking to Katie. Here we go. So let's see. Has your intuition given you some understanding or ways to deal with the pandemic?
Ooh, okay. Good question. Yeah. I feel like this has been a very individual experience for all of us. And at first we were all kind of isolated, and that can be scary because you're left alone with yourself and your thoughts and maybe your family. And right. So you're kind of stuck in it. And I know for a lot of people, you know, addictive behaviors increased, suicide increased, unfortunately, depression, anxiety increased. I think that's a huge learning learning opportunity, because you're like, okay, if I'm more alone with myself and I'm not distracted by work or shopping or doing these other things, like what is going on in me? So I think that was really valuable. A lot of people decided their job wasn't where they wanted to be, or they wanted more spiritual stuff, or, you know, they were kind of left alone with their happiness and unhappiness, and really decided it's time to make a change or do what I've always wanted to do, write a book, you know, start a new business, whatever. So I think that was one of the, if you get into reasons for everything thing, you know, I think that was one of the universe's purpose for it, if you will. And just learning more about your own body and your views about healthcare and your views about what you put in it and what you don't, and deciding how you want to, if you're faced with COVID or prevention or any of that, like really asking your intuition, how do I need to take care of myself in all of this? And what are my beliefs? And then finding people with like-minded ideas, and hopefully also learning from people who may not share your ideas. You know, I think that it's serving a lot of very interesting purposes. I feel so bad for all the people that have lost their loved ones and who've been sick, especially for prolonged periods of time, you know, and are still dealing with that. But yeah, a lot of people who have had COVID and then become my clients or just talk to me on social media have said, you know, it really sucked for a while, but a lot of good things came out of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there on that. I taught a class for 10 years at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays.
Wow.
And so I was forced to give that up.
Mm.
And they said, so you ready to come back? And I was like, nope.
Yeah,
I'm really loving my Saturday mornings, not having to get up, get in the car. You live in a warm climate, but I don't. So it's
right. Oh, I'm from Connecticut for my whole life. I get it. Yep.
So that was a nice thing. I was like, gosh, I can't believe time just goes by, right, Katie? I mean, so let me ask you this. In terms of parenting, right? Because you have how many children? I know you have a daughter.
I have 2 daughters. They are 30 and 24. Dear God.
Oh my. Okay.
Right.
So I think about the younger generations today, and this is really rough on them. And I can't imagine trying to spread my wings in a world where there's a pandemic going on, right? It's almost sort of counter what right development, right? You're supposed to want to leave, but you're like, I don't want to leave because where the heck am I going to go? You know, everything has changed. The cost of living is higher, and I know
oh my God,
younger folks are feeling really stressed. Not just younger, everybody's being affected by that. What do you, in terms of, you know, how can this help people who are feeling kind of lost, Katie? And know they want to head in a certain direction, but not really sure. Do you have anything you would say or anything from your book that would contribute?
Yeah. There's a lot in my book about life purpose and finding your authenticity and figuring out what's important to you and who's important to you and who your real friends are and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, it has really changed the game in a lot of ways, and change is hard. It's, you know, but we've all had to. And I think being open to new opportunities or new ways of doing things, a lot of people not necessarily comfortable with technology have had to learn to be comfortable with it. And I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
My younger daughter is getting her master's in counseling, like her mom, and her college shut down halfway through her master's program, and she had to switch colleges, and everything's online. And and there's a fly, some fly. We live in Florida. No, some fly. And you know, she had to kind of, oh my God, she had scholarships. She had to adjust those. I mean, it was really a big upheaval, and it's all working out fine. She has actually an eating disorder internship at an eating disorder clinic, which is kind of interesting. I feel like, and I have to do it myself, to relinquish control, you know, to let go and be like, okay, these things are happening around me. My intuition helps me to be open to what I need to act on and how, and also what to let go of, because as a business owner, you have to kind of be on top of things. And so it's hard to know when to keep in there, and when to be like, you know what, this path isn't working. I need to try something else. So I think a lot of people struggle with, when do I listen to spirit and feel safe and hold back a bit? And then when do I not?
And when do you get support, right? I mean, that's the thing I think it's important for people to hear, is sometimes you don't have to do it all.
Oh my God. We know. Yeah, no, that's huge.
You just need to it's kind of receive, right, Katie?
That's huge.
It's huge. And I know, and I can be such a, you know, penny pincher sometimes. I really can. And I'm just like, oh, do I want to? I mean, and the pandemic, you know, was great because I taught myself how to dye my own hair.
There you go.
The best thing. I saved so much money, and I could have went back, but I thought, you know, $12 is a lot cheaper, right? I did. I love it. So
That's fantastic. Yeah.
anyway, in terms of getting support, there's some things you just have to say, okay, I'm going to go talk to Katie. I'm going to get her book. I mean, the books are, I think, for what you get in a book and the amount of time and energy, a $14.99 book is an investment, right?
It definitely is. And I had somebody write to me yesterday. I got your book a little early. I read the whole thing. It's amazing. And now I'm going to start going through and doing the work. And I'm like, first of all, thank you. That's so nice to hear. And
very
just
good student.
Right. Very good. I paid you, but no, but go at your own pace. You don't have to rush through it. It's a life. Like, I hope that people have this book for the rest of their lives and work on their stuff. And as challenges come up, they can look at it and say, oh, that's in there. I can adjust this, or you just get deeper. Like, I feel like I never stop growing and learning. I just get deeper into it, or there's a different perspective, or, something like that. So we never stop. My goal is to hopefully maybe create like a workbook around it, and obviously do more books and things like that. But it really is there's a lot of exercises. There are a lot of active things to do, and I don't sit still well. So I really wanted this to be a book that people could participate in and with. And so,
it's not like a phone.
No.
You have to upgrade, right?
No,
and that's the thing about books, especially books that you took your time writing it, Katie. You took 4 years. That says a lot, right? Because when they get pumped out quick, sometimes there's the substance gets sacrificed. So it's a good thing that you took that time, because now this is a good book.
Thank you.
This is a good moment for me to pop back in.
Yes.
And just remind everyone, thank you first, Katie, for bringing this book into the world. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us today, sharing some of the ideas, the insight around the book. Sherianna, you're a great moderator.
Thank you, Sherry.
It makes me teary. I love Katie. I really do. I love her. She's such a good person. And honestly, I would send I always send family members to other people because I can't help it.
Do that.
I don't even want to hear what I have to say. So if I'm picky because it's family, I would send it to Katie.
Feel the same about you, my dear.
Yes. Yep.
So thank you to everyone for watching. Just one more reminder, you can order the book by just clicking on the green button at the bottom of the screen. If you're in Miami, you can pass by any one of our stores. We have it there too. And, let's heal from within, everyone.
Heal from within.
Let's get in touch with our intuitions. And
thank you so much for everyone who attended. I can speak.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, have a great afternoon. Bye.